year long, I've been talking to you about what's been going on in the market, as well as showing you a number of different home improvement projects. As we end the year, I thought it would make best sense to explain a few things that can help you decide how to pick a realtor. I'm Tricia Farin. I'm a real estate agent with William Ravis in Newtown, Connecticut, and you're watching Keeping the Real in Real Estate. So I told you that I wanted to help you figure out what qualities you needed to look for in finding a realtor. So today I have 5 for you. The first one is trustworthiness. Can you actually trust what you're telling your agent to be kept quiet and just private between you? And can you trust what that agent is telling you as fact? Well, I can tell you that trust is not something that you tout. Trust is something that you show. I make sure that I help my clients, both buyers and sellers, understand that I'm working for them. And if I'm a listing agent and an unrepresented buyer comes through, I do make it clear that at that moment, I am working for the seller. So any information that they provide to me is kind of open game because my loyalties are to the seller. If I'm exclusively working with a buyer, the same happens. Any information about their financial situation or how and why they want to move is not information that at that stage needs to be disclosed. It's only when we get to the offer part that, of course, you're going to want to talk about finances and how the house is going to be purchased. But anything else, whether it's health related or job related or just internal personal motivation as to why someone may want to buy or sell a property, is exclusively kept private between the agent and that particular client. So that's something that's really important to know. I know a lot of agents that just talk, and they don't listen. And sometimes you just have to shush, listen to what your buyers are saying, and then help them through whatever the situation is. So that's characteristic number 1. Tip number 2, you want to find an agent that's intelligent. Now, I realize every agent's going to say that they're smart or intelligent, but what have they done to prove that? For me, I make sure that I am in the know of what's going on in the industry. I read all the articles, I stay in tune with industry-related webinars, and there's a lot of information that comes through my email, and sometimes just scanning the headlines is enough to say, these are the trends that are going on out there, and I need to know a little bit more about it. I do investigate all the experts in the field, including economists and other high-level brokers, to try and get a sense of not only what is happening in Connecticut, but what is happening throughout the country, so I can kind of gauge where we stand and see if there are any trends that we're picking up on. Also, as an agent, you're required to get CE unit credits every couple of years. That's a requirement, and they always have one class that's required by everybody and then a bunch of electives that you can choose. I've gone beyond that. I not only take, of course, the CE credits that I have to do, but I find other classes that I can take and get certified in. So I'm a certified negotiation expert. I am a certified listing expert. I have a designation for home ownership specialist. I also took it upon myself to take a course that's specialized in diversity so that I can make sure that I understand every single way a person's culture and background can affect their decision-making process and the way in which they like to communicate, so that I'm talking in terms that make them feel comfortable and that I also understand what their specific needs are. And then I also got a special designation from the National Association of Realtors that is a Continue to Excellence pursuit, which shows that I have taken all the coursework necessary to help elevate the service level that I give to my clients. I'm going to continue to find additional things that make sense to round out my education so that I'm always in the know of what's going on and that I can help my clients make decisions on what's happening. Like with the market, I could tell you exactly what's happening today. I could tell you what the interest rate is. I could tell you what the average selling price of a particular neighborhood is for a particular type of house. What I can't do is tell you exactly what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after or next year or in 10 years. I can only predict, as can all the experts. So I use the experts' information and my own smarts and my own observations to determine whether or not I can help somebody say, for a reasonable expectation, this is what may happen in the market in the coming time. It's very important to know that this is not a science experiment, and there are many factors that can affect the outcome of what the predictions are. Last year, experts thought that the rates were going to come down, that the prices of homes were going to crash, that there was just going to be this housing crash. That's not what happened. It was just that there's not enough inventory, so home sales decreased, but values didn't, and the rates didn't come down. So, they said that that was going to happen, but that doesn't mean it does. So what I do is take into account all that information and help guide my clients based on a potential scenario of if this, then that, if this, then that. And that at least helps make some decisions. On to tip number 3. Okay, so for tip number 3, this is very subjective, but I feel that your agent needs to have the likability factor. You're going to be working with this person for the better part of maybe even half a year, depending. If you don't like them, this is not going to be a good experience for anybody. So you want to find somebody that you connect with, that you have solid ground with, and that you feel comfortable if you need to text them late at night or spend the day looking at houses, that you have a positive feel and you want to be with this person. A lot of times, the way you'll meet an agent is at an open house. Now, come on, buyers. How many people have gone to an open house where you're like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to look at the house. I'm going to try to sneak out of here because I don't even want to talk to you. I've experienced that both as a buyer and as the agent. You can tell those that it's like, okay, there's no connection there. Okay. But you do try to form some kind of a bond. And for me, I always try to find something that we have a connection with. My first favorite question when somebody comes to an open house is, where are you coming from? That has given me right there so much information, because a lot of times it might be an area that I know something about, and then I can find something to talk to them about it, and then we just start talking. You have the agents who are you working with an agent, or are you pre-approved? No one likes to have that aggressive approach. I think the conversational approach and just being true people and getting to know each other and chat is a much better approach. That's my approach anyway. And I have been successful to gain buyers through open houses, and for people who have called me out of the blue, where we just talk on the phone and I give as much information as I possibly can for their questions and make them feel like I am the knowledgeable agent and I have likability. So for me, I think that's an important factor. On to number 4. So for tip number 4, I find this probably to be the most important one. I think having good communication is paramount. I have recently purchased some land, and the agent that I had was like a ghost. And I always had to follow up with him and wait around for him to get back to me. I could not even stand it. So as an agent, I find it vastly important that somebody is constantly in the know of what's going on when they're working with me. I put out weekly reports when we're in the middle of a transaction for both my sellers and my buyers, so that they know where in the transaction do we stand. It's called the Countdown to Closing Report, and I could tell you, everybody loves it. It indicates how many days we are close to closing, who are all the key players, what are all the important dates, where they are in the transaction. I have a little grid that shows them exactly where they are, and then a summary section to discuss any important details that either need to be addressed or to just be in the know of this is what's happening. And everybody loves it. No one can ever say when they're working with me that they don't know what's going on or they can't find their agent. And that's something that's super important to me. And even before transactions in play, there's not a lot of inventory right now. So we could go days, even weeks without new properties to be able to share. But I do send a quick text to say, hey, I haven't forgotten about you. There just hasn't been anything that I know you want to see. But certainly if you find something, send it my way, and I'm going to keep looking for you. And that just reassures somebody that there's somebody out there who's doing their bidding and working and watching their back and making sure that they're not going to miss out on an opportunity that might come up. That's something that's super important to me. There's a point in the transaction where I kind of hand off everybody to a mortgage lender or to the attorney, but I still stay in the loop and I make sure that everybody's doing their job, and then I communicate back to my client to say, hey, I spoke to your attorney or I spoke to your lender and this is where we are and this is what you need to do, or there's nothing you need to do right now, sit tight, I'll back in touch when something changes. That is so important. The same happens when I'm working with other agents. they know when they're working with me that they absolutely will always be kept in the loop of where things stand with the transaction. This proves I have a 5-star rating on Google for my clients. I also have a perfect rating on my what's called a peer review site where other agents stop time in their day to write reviews about me. That says it all. And I can actually use that when I put in an offer to say, hey, I promise to also be an active participant in this transaction so you don't feel like you're alone out there and worrying about how to tell your client what's going on, because I'm going to be an active communicator. So communication, one of the most important things in my world. On to number 5. So number 5, to me, is a sense of humor. And the reason why I say this is because when you're going through a real estate transaction, you're dealing with peoples of all walks of life and situations that you can't even predict. I've had times where we've been in the yard and our feet are sinking because there's moles in the ground. I've had weird doors that you just don't want to open. And you have things where, I've shown a house where a man was undressing in the room. No one even knew he was in there. You have to have a sense of humor, because if not, you'll start crying in the corner. So it's better to just kind of say, listen, this is a journey. We're going to strap on and we're going to do this together, and we're going to just enjoy the process. And I found that having a more lighter perspective on things helps when there are stressful times, because you can't predict the stress. There's going to be. Buying a house is a stressful thing, but it doesn't have to be held on the shoulders of one person. I'm happy to wear the brunt of that stress to alleviate it from my clients, because I do this all the time. So what's really stressful for them is not going to be so much of a big deal for me. And if I can make that a little bit easier for them, even by lightening the mood, dealing with their children or dogs. I've had to go babysit dogs for my sellers just so we can show the house. And you know what? I'm sitting in the yard and playing with a dog. That's easy. I have 3 dogs myself. But for them, they were stressed out because they're like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with the dog? We both work out of the house. And it's like, don't worry. You got me as an agent. I got this. And I do. I got this. And I can do this for you and for your friends and for anybody who you know or that wants to buy or sell a house. I love what I do for a living. And because I love it, I don't find it drudgery. I don't mind going to the house at 7 o'clock at night because that's the only time that you could see it. I don't mind having my clients text me in the morning. There's many times I'm in bed and I'm just texting and responding before I start my day, because I love what I do for a living and I want to make this easier for my clients. I want to give you the keys to the house, or I want to say, your house sold today and now you could go on to the next phase of your life with peace. That's what I do. I am the matchmaker real estate agent. I try to find buyers and sellers who want the same things and match them up. I love puzzles. I love connecting things. I love finding things, and I love researching things. Hey, in the end, I'm not the one moving. My job is to make sure that I give all the information to my clients so that they can make a decision as to whether or not they want to move. And whether that's valuing their house, or giving them information on schools, or giving them information on neighborhoods, showing them what homes are worth, getting teams together, so pulling in the lawyer, pulling in the appraiser, pulling in the inspector, giving them the tools that they need to say yes, no, no, maybe. That's what I do. So if you're in the market for a new home or a change of address, this is the agent that you want to call. I've given you 5 reasons to evaluate agents, and I think I've ticked the boxes on all of them. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Give me a call. Looking forward to a great 2024 and giving you more information about what's happening in the market and keeping the real in real estate.